Welcome to, or back to, Forgotten Hollywood, the channel where I take you back in time to show you the movies, shows, and actors that have faded over the years. The year 1975 changed the way people go to the cinema and beaches forever. The release of Jaws started out limited in less than 500 theaters nationwide. This was at a time when summer was reserved for low-budget films not expected to make much, due to the fact that most people preferred outdoor activities to indoor theaters. So how did a movie that my husband describes as three guys on a fishing trip, with a rookie director and no big-name actors, end up with an opening weekend of over $7 million? Let's find out. Jaws began life as a novel published in 1974. Two producers were able to read the manuscript early and quickly snatched up the movie rights. The first director they hired was Dick Richards, but they didn't have much faith in a guy who couldn't tell the difference between a shark and a whale. Interestingly, his whale did make it into the final film though. Kinda. Only it was made of wood. Quint's boat in the movie is named after the orca. This type of whale preys on aquatic big game, including sharks. Anyway, after Dick Richards was gone, a 26-year-old director jumped at the chance. He loved the book and he wanted to be part of the movie. That up-and-coming director was named Steven Spielberg. Prior to Jaws, Spielberg had worked mostly in television, directing episodes of shows like Columbo and made-for-TV movies. His only feature film was 1974's Sugarland Express, a crime drama starring Goldie Hawn and Ben Johnson. From there, young Spielberg took on Jaws, and he had no idea what he was getting into. The filming of Jaws is well known for being plagued with issues, from casting to mechanics. Nothing seemed to go right for this picture. Things got so bad that the release date was pushed back from December of 1974 to the summer of 1975. What was supposed to be a 55-day shoot ended up taking almost 3 times as long. But for all the struggles and setbacks, the end result was worth it. Let's go over a few reasons why, starting with the shark. It's fairly common knowledge that Bruce, as the mechanical monster was called, was a technician's nightmare. While it had been shown to function underwater, this was done in essentially a swimming pool and not the ocean. So it wasn't the water that caused the problems, it was salt. Salt is corrosive and damaged the mechanics of the shark and its controls. This, though a massive headache at the time, turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as it allowed for the big reveal of the shark to come later in the movie, and the crew was forced to utilize the fear of the unknown in early scenes. You see, when you don't give a description for a character or object, the audience will mentally come up with one of their own. This is true both on film and in print. When you tell the audience that a monster is lurking in the shadows, their own fears will determine what that looks like, which is why the technique is so effective. The scariest dangers are the ones we dream up ourselves, as they are based on our individual perceptions. In the case of Jaws, the audience knew it was a big shark, and that meant different things to different people. Those who knew what sharks looked like in real life might think of something smaller than a person who was thinking of swimming dinosaurs. I imagine few were thinking it was the size it was, which caused the big reveal to be that much bigger. The next element that added to the success of Jaws were the characters, such as Chief Brody. Early on, Charlton Heston was interested in the part, but Spielberg wanted to avoid big-named actors, as he wanted audiences to see an everyman and not an action hero. This approach was the right one for 2 reasons. First off, you have audience expectations. When you see Clint Eastwood, Jason Statham, or Arnold Schwarzenegger pick up a big gun, you know the bad guys are going down in a spectacularly violent way. But when you see Roy Scheider come out of bed, too tired to know which phone is ringing, you just hope he makes it to the end of the film with his body and family intact. Other characters, like Robert Shaw's Quint and Richard Dreyfuss's Hooper, join Brody as a sort of power trio. You have the academic, the eccentric, and the everyman. These three are believable, real men, not superheroes. This brings me to the second reason, audience connection. Yes, there are movies I enjoy where amazing characters are doing extraordinary things, and I can sit back and admire their brilliance, like looking at the Hope Diamond. There is a beauty and elegance to it, but I don't imagine I can be what I'm seeing. Audiences don't connect with that which they see as perfect, which is why Mary Sues are boring. But that's a long rant for another video. Everyman characters, those with hopes, dreams, strengths, and flaws, are a gateway to the audience to engage in the story. Relatable people that we can sympathize with or even project onto bring us into the film, and we as the audience become invested in the situation. Without that investment, we wouldn't care what happened to these people. I have watched movies with character death, seen the loss mourned on screen, and felt nothing. Because the character that died and the one weeping for their loss had only been on screen for a few minutes, and I had not established any sort of connection or bond with them. On the other hand, I have seen movies where the bond is established early on, which makes the loss feel so much greater. It doesn't take much to create the link, just enough to make the character relatable. An example in Jaws is one of the early victims, who you see in a brief shot with his mother on the beach moments before the shark attack. An average boy with an average mother. As a mother myself with a young son, that scene hits me hard. There's a personal connection that many can relate to. Maybe you see your mother, your son, your brother, or even your daughter. This is why movies like Jaws work at getting an emotional reaction, because they put you on that beach on Amity Island and make you afraid to go in the water. On the flip side, you have the characters that you actually might want to be eaten by the shark. The mayor of the town is the stereotype of the hated politician. He disregards the warning signs because he fears loss of revenue more than loss of life. There are also the idiot fishermen who use firecrackers and start chumming the water out of greed for the reward, and paying no mind to what baiting a shark would actually do, or the fact that firecrackers will do nothing against a great white but make him mad. But again, these characters make us feel the way we do because we are invested in the situation. Those who hinder or ignore the everyman make us want to scream and yell because we see ourselves as the everyman and take the actions personally. It's basic psychology and a very effective tool in filmmaking. The final element I will address is the pace of the film. The first shark attack happens in the first scene, which creates the looming presence of the shark like a shadow over the island. You don't know when or where he will strike next until you hear that haunting tune. Side note on the music, you always hear the tune when the shark is present, warning you of danger, but the film also includes a few false alarms that can trick the audience if they're so invested that they don't notice the lack of the iconic score. A great way for filmmakers to keep the audience on their toes. The tune also allows for the shark to be present without being seen, a necessity with the malfunctioning robotics that became one of the greatest strengths of the film. Beginning with the first attack set the stage for everything and allowed us to get to know the characters as the crisis unfolded. We jump in the truck with Chief Brody and hit the ground running. Even at the slower, somber parts of the film, there is still a sense of urgency that carries the story forward. The ever-present danger that the shark might return at any moment to claim another victim. This is a much different approach than modern shark movies that seem to spend the first third to half of the film just letting us know who everyone is and why they're present. While watching one such movie in recent years, I almost forgot it was a shark movie because the threat took so long to be introduced. Additionally, in the case of that particular movie, I didn't feel connected to the characters at all. There were just too many and not enough background to make them relatable or even really remember who was who. One thing I do remember from that movie is wondering which of the annoying people would be eaten first. The eventual appearance of the shark was such a relief as the plot could finally move forward. There is an art to introducing characters efficiently, one that is sadly lacking in a number of modern films. For example, let's look at the introduction of Rey in Star Wars The Force Awakens. You see her alone, collecting scrap in the desert. At first, you can't see her face, so you don't know age, race, or gender, or even if she's human. Almost a minute after she appears on screen, it is shown that she is a young human woman. In the first 2 minutes that she is on screen, this is all we know about her. Now, let's look at Chief Brody in Jaws. In the first 2 minutes that he is on screen, we know that he lives in Amity, a small town that he moved to in the fall, and this is his first summer, although it is still early in the season. We see that he has a wife, 2 kids, and at least 1 dog. He is identified as the chief of police and drives a pickup. We see his dedication to the job, giving himself only enough time to get dressed and drive to the beach when he gets a call that there is a missing girl. We see the concern he has for the safety of his family when his son comes in with an injury from a swing set that he still needs to prepare, and he warns him not to play on it again. In just 2 minutes, we have a full character profile. In 2 minutes of The Force Awakens, we don't even know if Rey can speak English. This is why pacing is important. When you take too long to introduce a character, it slows down the film. If this is done too much, it can cause the audience to check out. Once they are no longer engaged, it doesn't matter what happens to the characters, the interest is gone. This is why movies might feel longer or shorter than they are. It's all down to the speed of the action and the urgency of the characters. There is much more I can say on Jaws. From the music to the plot, it's cinematic gold. The $7 million opening weekend, with a limited release, speaks volumes to the appeal of a well-crafted film. It has the elements of the hero's journey without ever leaving a small town. It has aspects of horror, drama, comedy, and tragedy. The characters and situation are believable, putting the audience almost literally in the same boat with them. No matter how much time passes, no matter who you are or where you live, you can see someone or something that mirrors your life in that film. In this way, Jaws shines in its ability to capture and hold the interest of its audiences, from the first people that sat down in a theater in 1975 to future generations to come. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on Jaws? Have you seen any modern movies that compare? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this sort of content. Also, click that bell to receive notifications. Let me know if there is another movie you believe deserves a spotlight, and I will catch up with you next time.